YouTube! What is up? It's your boy here, Troa. Back again, once again. We're back. It's Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know what time it is. It's time for the MLG GBO2 podcast, episode number 6. A lot of excitement, a lot of stuff to talk about here this week. But first off, I want to make an announcement. We have decided after last week's episode, for all future episodes going forward, we are bringing on Leather as a permanent host. So it's going to be a 4-man show. 4-man show. So, Leather, glad you can be here with us.
I'm very glad that you guys could have me again.
Now we're joined. Go ahead.
No, I'm pretty sure you guys said, oh, people have to vote to see if I get to stay or not, and I'm pretty sure I saw a mean comment saying I smelled last time. So
we decided, even against all the the amounts of hate that my DMs got and everything else, we decided to bring you on anyway. So, that's nice. But anyways, we're other than Leather here today. We have the normal cast. We have the homie Nova.
You keep replacing me as top billing. What the fuck? I'm gonna sue you, bro. This wasn't in my contract.
It's in the contract. And we were bringing back again. He's back. We missed him last week. Our favorite Brit Suplex.
Hello, boys. I'm back.
It's good to have all of us back here together this week. We have a lot of stuff to talk about here. We're going to be talking about the Assault Guntank, the Jimka move. We're going to be talking about the BD2 and BD3, what that means for the overall meta of GBO2, and how you're going to be able to combat that. We're going to be speaking about the map changes as well as the Dengeki Q&A. We have a lot to get into. But first things first, Assault Guntank. Leather, I know you pulled this suit. What do you think about it, man? What's going on with it?
Oh my god, man! I pulled this suit out of my ass. A miracle, one roll, baby. And I have to say, it's my favorite. Out of all the tanks, it's my favorite. Sorry, it's got it's got this cool new ability where it transforms, which I think low-key basically means that in the future the Zeta suits will also transform. Hopefully, fingers crossed on that shit. But the suit is very strong. It's got 43, around 44 shooting. Now, I don't know if anybody else got it here. I don't think anybody else got it. Did we?
No.
I wanted to know if anybody else had a problem with the cannon, because the cannon is in your face, but it does a really a fuckload of damage. A single shot cannon that does 4K compared to the 2 cannons that the other gun tanks get. It's pretty fucking strong. Every single weapon on this fucking thing does an insane loads of damage for no apparent reason whatsoever. Probably because BB knew that people were gonna pick it up for maybe 2 days and then just throw it in the garbage and start playing their gun cannons again because what a meta or something. Shit. Sorry. And the
You good, man?
Fuck, man. No, man. Fuck, I'm having a fly in my mouth. Sorry. And no, and this. What am I trying to say? No, fuck, God. Sorry. Anyways, the suit. I really like the suit. I like the transformation thing. It really gives you the ability to just fucking go wherever you want and just relocate for when your team needs you.
Okay. And are you frontlining with it? I've noticed a lot of frontlining with it and kind of just ramming people. That's it.
No. Okay, no, sorry. No, the thing, you don't really need to frontline with it. A lot of people like to say you could frontline with it because of the transformation, but it's not really viable. The thing is better played as an actual regular gun tank, just because every single gun it has an insane amount of range. For example, it has 2 missile launchers, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna call the left arm the bot missiles, because I think that's what they're actually called. And the bot missiles, they only have 4 shots. And the range is almost 400 and something, which is pretty good if somebody tries to come near you. And it does 1,000 damage around there to GPs, and all four of them stun if you manage to hit them, which is pretty nice. With the combination of the cannon, which also does around 4K, pretty big damage. And then you got the rocket launchers, which are the missiles that it has on the side of the tracks, which on GPs will do around 600 if you manage to hit them. They have this really wide arc to them that I don't like, because the suit is like so goddamn wide, and the missiles are are even more far apart. That when you fire them, they sort of tend to miss. So you have to sort of shoot the ground where the enemy is, because they have a really big splash. So you have to shoot them, like you have to aim the reticle in the middle on the ground of the enemy so that it starts splashing them for 600 each shot. Then we move. Then I want to move on to the flamethrower. I think it's a pretty cool gimmick, but I don't think it's really that useful, honestly, on the suit. Like it's cool. Like it's cool at all. I think if you manage to hit somebody, it'll do like for 15 seconds. It'll do 150. But I don't know whether if that's every second or every half a second, or every like second and a half. I don't know. But if it's every second, it'll do around 2,000 damage as long as he doesn't get knocked down or has invincibility frames. But if you manage to, but you're not. I find that you're not supposed to really hit every single flame on a single target. If you have a bunch of enemies, like for example, if I'm seeing one of my blues getting ganged up on, I'll take it out and I'll start like just spraying it all over them. So that way, I'll just start spraying. Here, take my flaming laser piss. Right in your face, and it's like a 150 all over across the board. It's beautiful. They get scared too. They don't know what's going on. Like they keep losing health, like as if they didn't reach the patch notes.
Right.
But then you could do some interesting stuff with it too. You can actually fire it up, like if you're on mountain or if you're like around the buildings in city. You know that building in the middle, right next to the with the little corridor that leads to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually arc it across that building and manage to hit whoever's on the other side. So don't believe it. Don't believe what that thing says. It only has 150 range. It actually has like massive amounts of range as long as the higher you aim, the farther it goes.
That's
then we come. Yeah, that is interesting. But then we come to the bread and butter of this suit, baby. Ooh, the heavy stagger barrels. The things you can do with these things is hilarious. So I don't know how much damage they do. I never get to turn around fast enough. I've heard people tell me it's like 2K. I don't know for each one, but each one heavy. Now the things you could do with this suit is hilarious. So let's just say you got this little raid coming up behind you. Now you're in city or you're like up on a hill. Let's pretend that you know he's there. So you just sit there. You load up those little barrels, and then when they start coming up, flying towards you, you let them go, turn it into a NASCAR, and then just fuck off. And they just die.
Take advantage.
That get heavy staggered. Yeah, you take advantage of that of them being like, oh fuck. So I believe that either they stay on the ground for a bit and then they explode, or you could do what's a little bit harder to do, is to actually hit them directly with it. The first one is really hard to get, but the second one, I don't know, I find easier to get, probably because it doesn't have that much range. Because one falls before the other. And then if you turn into a NASCAR, you could just start ramming people with it, and then just like go inch a bit forward from them, let them go, heavy stagger them, turn around, and just start like, I don't know, cannoning them or like using the machine gun. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
A lot of combos there, and it sounds like people don't know how to deal with the damage over time effect of the flamethrower. Sounds pretty interesting. I don't have one.
No, yeah.
It'd be cool to get.
It's a true Swiss Army knife. I'm peeved that I didn't roll one. I've seen a lot of people use them. Very disappointed in how they've been using them though. I'm a tank fan. I like my tanks. So I took out the Guntank. Haven't taken it out in a while. And my word,
do the voice for
these
us, Suplex.
people, dude. Gentlemen, we must push forward. If we don't, we'll lose the day. But yeah, it's tragic because they try and trade. This thing can't trade with other supports too well from a range.
Right.
The cannon fire does seem to be slower than the standard gun tanks. And whilst the damage is higher, I'm just not convinced it can really keep up with the kind of barrage a Guntank or a Guntank MP or even a Zarka tank can spit out.
I can't confirm this, by the way, what you're saying. I cannot find other supports in this thing.
Yeah, it's whilst it is very much a tank and it shouldn't be used solely frontline, it's got a nice little Swiss Army like knife. It's got a lot of tools that it can use. The best thing is having a coordinated team, which is about as rare as seeing a unicorn in real life. But being able to push, being kind of the spearhead, being a distraction, being a little pain in the ass for the raids to chase after. Because my word, trying to hit and stun these things as a raid, trying to downswing them, trying to get on them whilst they're in little race car form is just it's not desirable to say the least. The thing is a little annoyance, and it looks like a lot of fun, but I've seen a lot of misplays by a lot of players who have been ramming a lot. The ramming does no damage, it stuns, but most people just seem to ram even when someone's knocked over. Very bizarre. But then again, this is, the player base. They aren't to be trusted with anything, not even the BD3. So I don't know. It looks fun. Maybe one day I'll get it for RT when it shows up, but until then, it's a funny little suit. But yeah, quite an interesting amount of gimmicks. A very annoying distraction for raids.
Definitely, it's a very interesting suit, but I don't think it's a very large threat suit. And as a raid main, I have a couple thoughts on that. But first, I want to say what's up to the chat. I want to say what's up, Yao Yao. What's up, Proxy Phoenix, Coolio, Young Spud. How are you guys doing today? Glad you could make it out here. But my thoughts on the Assault Guntank as a player who plays a lot of raids, everything else. It's easy to deal with if you don't let them get into race car mode. Once they're in the race car mode, it becomes a whole new ball game. It's a complete pain in the ass. But there are ways you can, get around it. Of course, when they go into race car mode, a lot of times what I find the combo is that they will, well, of course they'll start speeding around thinking they're a literal NASCAR driver and, they're going to the NASCAR Hall of Fame and everything else. But they'll try to, use the, what are the leather suplex? What are the things that heavy stun that propels
the
out?
bombs,
The bombs. Yeah, the field bombs.
Yeah,
They'll try to use the
barrel
field bombs. Yeah, barrel bombs, field bombs.
Yeah.
They'll try to use those to heavy stun you and just kind of do little circles around you, thinking you're going to go directly into them. There's two things you can do when they're trying to do this. It's you can kind of get to the side, try to get them to use the bombs on the around your side and everything else, and you can downswing. They can't counter tackle you when they're in this mode. It's not possible. They can't do it. They're defenseless. So if you're using like an Ifrit Kai, BD2, anything with a wide downswing, you're going to have a decent time of actually hitting them when they're circling around you, or maybe when they're immediately trying to make their quick escape. They won't see it coming with the downswing. I've caught multiple of them using that maneuver over the past couple days. Now, if you're in something that doesn't have a downswing radius, such as these suits, maybe if you're using, my favorite raid, the Zigak-E, I think your best bet is to not pursue, actually fall back, keep them in eyesight. Don't let them just retreat fully back and get away from you. But as soon as you see them start to transform out of race car mode, kick it into high gear and get back on that pursuit. That's going to be so important. Immediately when they're out of race car mode, they're not going to be as fast. They're not going to have as much, maneuverability. You're going to have a much easier time getting to them. Hit them with a quick stun if you have it. Some raids don't have it. Zigaki does have a decent quick stun with the NPCs and and the missiles. Hit them with that. Then go in, do your melee. Quickly try to boost cancel out of your last swing and follow up on them to knock them out. Because these things typically don't have a lot of melee defense. They're going to be quite easy to deal with then. The best strategy, in my opinion, though, is to not let them get into race car mode at all. Try to play a little bit of a stealth game against them. Keep to the side. Don't just rush up to them in front, because if you're coming at them from a direct angle in their line of sight, they'll go into race car mode then and try to hightail it out of there. Don't let them do that. Come more from a side angle or from the rear, and knock them out as soon as they're trying to shoot your shoot your allies. That's the best bet. Once they're in the race car mode, it just becomes a lot harder. It's manageable. You can deal with it. It doesn't change the game, your game flow too much. Usually they'll go into race car mode. They'll come up to the front line. They'll have to get out of race car mode, and then you can just fuck them right there and then. It's a good support, but it's not a game changing support. It's a lot of fun from what I've seen. Leather's had a blast with it. If you're able to get one, that's awesome. But I wouldn't fret too much if you didn't get one this past week. If you're looking for more of a game-changing support, something that's going to be a lot more meta, have a lot more maybe long-term staying power in terms of being dominant, I'm sure there'll be more suits in the future. Last one we got was pretty much the Gunner Gundam. There'll probably be more in the future. You have an opportunity to get. Nova, do you have any thoughts on the Assault Guntank, man?
I mean, it's pretty much mostly been said. It's fun, it's tricky, but at the end of the day, it still falls prey to a lot of what happens at 400 and 450. You're still going to get hit by beams, and if it's in the assault mode, well, you can be downswung with impunity. And yeah, you can rush up to people, but you're playing the suit wrong at that point. That gimmick's only really for getting out of there if you're in danger. The most important thing we can probably think of with the Guntank is that recent change to 200 being the new max speed. It has 180 when it's in that assault mode. So that's fun. It's fun to see it move that fast. The only important thing about it is remembering. Deja vu. I've just been in this place before. Higher on the street, and I know my time has come to come home. Deja vu. The only important thing to remember. The Gunner is still probably better. Yeah, the Gunner is still better at 400. I mean, it could make its case, but 400 and 450, it's a tough meta. It's a very tough, especially with the introduction of the Gelgoog Marine recently. That can just pick you off from a distance.
Can pick you off from a distance. Also has a very nice downswing, which can just knock it out. Knock it out right there. Gelgoog Marine, game-changing raid, guys. But go ahead.
The most that I've seen it do is get up close to someone around, like, say, C point in port, and try to continuously stagger someone. Even then, it's more annoying than threatening in my eyes. I'd still be more worried about a gunner just constantly spamming my legs.
Definitely. Before we're going to talk about the BD2 and BD3 here real quick, but I want to say, what's up, Luis? I ram, then shoot the cannon while moving. Not a terrible strategy.
Yeah.
Pretty decent. Pretty good.
I'm sorry, Troy. I did have something to say about the NASCAR mode. The 180 speed is going backwards and forwards, by the way. And you lose 3 weapons while you're in there, which is probably why a lot of people like switching into NASCAR mode so much, because you can't manage that many weapons in tank form.
Right.
But one thing you can do is that when you're in NASCAR mode, you can go backwards 180 while a raid is chasing you and drop the barrels, and they will go forward.
Really?
So you can heavy stagger them while they're chasing you and just keep shooting them with the little bop machine gun, and it's really funny. Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to tell
that's
people,
even more
just in case.
Important. As soon as they hit race car mode, if you have a downswing with a wide hitbox, and it has range, try to hit them with it. Right there and then.
Or if you're in anything with a heavy stagger or anything that can really, because technically it doesn't really resist stuns. It just try to think of it as it has maneuver armor, basically.
Yeah.
You have to like Gelgoog Marine can't stun it. If you shoot him with the beam rifle fully charged and then you take out the Gatling gun, after like 5 shots it will stun it.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a BD2, 2 missiles and that's it.
Yeah. So those options, I didn't say it with the Zigak E. It was my example earlier because good luck trying to hitting the NPCs while the thing's fucking moving. Good luck with that, man. But BD2,
I mean, it's pretty huge though.
Yeah, it's big, but just with how compact it is, it can be a little bit of a pain. What's up 4? It says vroom vroom for sure. Yeah, it says out of race car mode. They're also either out of boost 100% or they're near 0 boost. Drains the boost gauge like a battery. Exactly. So take care of them when they're out of race car mode. That's my personal thoughts on it.
Actually, It kind of depends. If he uses it for too long, once he comes out of it, he will no longer have any boost. But if they use it for like 2 seconds or 3, they'll
Mhm.
still have some boost left. So be careful, because they can't count. Because this thing has level 3 counter tackle, and it'll do a fuckload of damage to you if it catches you.
Doesn't it drain a lot more when you come out of it? Isn't it end like a boost? Like when you begin a
Yeah,
boost,
yeah, yeah.
you pick
It
up a lot
drains it a
more.
lot. It's like when you use double dodge roll, on
Yeah.
an Alex or in a Galbaldi. When you have like zero gauge, it sort of goes up almost to the end.
Ah, okay. So
It's kind
for
of
the
like
most
that if you
part,
use it for like 2 or 3 seconds.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part, when you see a Guntank Assault type coming out of race car mode, they're most likely going to be overheated.
Yeah,
More, more,
most
more,
likely.
Yeah.
more times likely. Yeah, more times.
Yeah.
And at that point, they are probably more. I'd say even more vulnerable than a standard Guntank, because of course the Guntank itself has cannons that go through maneuver armor, whereas
Yeah.
So
the assault tank does.
there you go. Coming out, I'm willing to place a bet that they're going to be out of boost. Be cautious. Don't get too ahead of the game, but I'm willing to make that bet, take that risk that they're going to be out of boost. If you have a stun though, if you have a way to stun them, hit them with the stun first just to play it safe. But BD2, BD3,
Ooh.
big stuff. Hit RT this past week. It's changed the 400 meta. This is now these are the new mainstays. They were already big before. They're going to be even more, popularly used for rank, customs, quick, anything you name it. You're probably going to see this suit. These are suits you got to play around. You have to game plan around. You got to think about when you're bringing your suit. You're making your builds, especially at 400 cost. Nova, you use the BD2 a lot. You just got the BD3. What is your take on the BD2, BD3 at 400 cost with them being added? What has the player base been like? How do we combat the BD2 and BD3 meta?
Well, let's start with what 400 looks like, and that is essentially the BD2 is still dominant melee raid. The sheer options you have for stun, the mobility you have, the potential to pop exam and just go completely in on the enemy team. It's a great little package, especially with the fact that it has a dodge roll outside of exam. Force injectors are nice, if situational at best, and that shield is a little bit more useful than you'd think. That helped it really secure a place during the very end of the bazooka meta. For the most part, with it being added to the RT shop, we're going to see more, and that almost always comes with people not being very good with the suits. Some play better than others, or some it just fits their playstyle. It's essentially a very upgraded Freak Kai. Its melee attack patterns are virtually the same, but it only has 2 swings. Obviously, you have no useless leg missiles. Those chest missiles can fire while you're boosting, which are nice because it only takes 2 to stun. You should always bring the beam rifle on it, never the MG Kai. The beam rifle gives you the stun. You don't want to do anything else in a BD2 other than stun melee. That's your goal. Presumably on the support, but we've talked about that to no end. The thing that sets it apart is the entire package is so strong that you can still fight GPs with a BD2. And that's where a lot of the frustration from players who don't have a BD2. The fact that it can get in your face. It can downswing. Then it can just go find your support while you're just kind of sitting there on the ground crying to yourself. BD2, especially in space too. Space it's fun too, but the options is really where it comes in. You have 2 sets of Vulcans, the chest and the head Vulcans. You've got the beam rifle, you've got the stun missiles, and obviously you have your melee combo. With exam, much like the BD1 and a Freak Kai, it's mostly about timing and knowing when's the best time to activate. You can briefly get a couple iframes off of an example, so if you're good at it, you might even be able to just tank a shot to the face. Out of the 2, though, I'd say the BD3 is probably a little bit better. And I only say that because it's hard being a raid in general because you have to do so many things right where the GP just really needs to get up close to you and kind of do its thing. The extended exam time on the BD3 is also pretty nice. And anyone who plays a BD3 for long enough will feel the BD2 or a Free Kai or BD1's exam time is too short, if even just because you got used to it. The single saber is still fine. Standard Fetty attack pattern, high melee priority. Still what you want. It's got the chest missiles, it's got the Vulcans. It's got everything you need to be a quick, disruptive GP, which you're essentially a half raid, half GP with both of these suits, just with slightly different focuses because of what the rock, paper, scissors pattern is for this game.
Right, right.
Honestly, with them and RT, I imagine it's just going to have significant more enter the 400 meta, and when they hit DP, it's going to get so much worse. Anyone who enjoys a slower meta, enjoy it for maybe a couple more weeks, a couple more months before that's gone forever.
Gone forever. I would say that that it's already gone. Slow meta's already gone at 400. It's practically non-existent unless you run into a stall team. But as you were saying,
Yeah, but the second it hits DP, though, then everyone who doesn't have luck to actually roll these suits, or the RT saved up to actually buy them, will be able to use them. And then it begins.
and then it begins. How are you how are you combating them, man? With how many more of these being added? With how many more of them you're seeing? Are there any particular suits you're bringing over others? Are you building anything differently? Are your patterns different?
Not really overall. Most of my attack patterns remain the same. A lot of these have trouble that most people who gain new suits and no idea how to play them fall into. Most are attempting strategies they saw people pull off that likely they'd practiced for weeks to months to do, and just kind of failing and then just getting a bad taste for the suits. For these two, they're both exam suits, so the best thing you can do is just get them down, knock them out before they pop exam, and kill them then and there, because there's really not a whole lot they can do. They have low boost outside of exam, and anyone who plays against one of these suits has to understand that. If you don't see them glowing red, they have, 50 boost by default?
45 for the BD2.
45. So yeah, your best bet is to try to get up close to knock them down and do as much damage as you can outside of exam. Because at that point, they have lower defenses, lower damage, lower boost. You can get them, trip them up, make them waste their boost, make them tackle. And at that point, there's not a lot they can do. They have high melee priority, but just play a numbers game. Stick with your team, have intelligent strategy, and you'll be completely fine. A Peasant Dwaj is fun to use against a BD2. An Agzaku is fun to use against a BD2. And, I mean, I just still use Googs because why not? Why not use a Goog? Use more Googs, folks. Use more Gelgoog.
Such good suits.
The Gelgoog BR, man. The Gelgoog BR.
Like I said, the BD3 is a little bit tankier. Obviously, because of the blue type, too, you don't have to worry as much about the most common suit type attacking you. It's more supports, but with the speed you get in exam and the time you have to pull off exam, normally you can manage to outmaneuver most supports long enough for your support to, not support, your raid to get up and close, and really show them a thing or two if they're not stupid. So, if your raid's competent, you really don't have to worry about that too much, and you can push straight into enemy territory because you're likely going to be fighting two suits without too much trouble once you learn how to pull off a BD3.
I gotta agree with you. I think my take's gonna be is a little bit different than this because I think the way that you one I want to start with. These are meta-defining suits. These are two of the best suits at 400 cost. There's
Without
very
question.
few that rival them in terms of power, stun options, etc. Everything you can do with these suits are top tier, S tier, right there at 400. You can take them in the 450 if you really want to, and you can do really well. So these are suits, no matter who you're playing with, you have to kind of look at and you got to go, well, if the enemy team has a BD2 or a BD3, how do we combat this? How do we get around this? And in my opinion, I think this is going to be the most important thing if you're playing GP. I think if you're playing a support, you're going up against a BD2, it is what it is. It's gonna be a tough battle no matter what you bring. Obviously, a longer range supports, something that breaks maneuver armor with relative ease. is going to give you a much better time against the BD2, but that's going to be a tough battle to fight against anyways. I think the Gunner Gundam, the Guntank, as well as the gun cannon, give you some of the better options against BD2s. Guntank, because it breaks maneuver armor. You have that. You can get on top of a building. Just keep shooting at him. Gunner Gundam, long range, instant stun. If he gets up close, you can instant stun him. You can also hit him from afar. Start chipping away at his HP. Gun cannon, because it's the most disgusting support that's been in the game since day one. Cannons and the beam rifle. It's hard to find a better combo than that. I might be missing a support or two that are very good against them, but those are the first couple that come to my mind. In terms of, but for the GP side, I think you're going to kind of look and you're going to go, well, okay, I'm bringing, let's say you want to bring the Zaku to F2 and you see the rest of your team and it's, you don't have much of an instant stun, hard stun front line. You're going to want to consider changing. You're going to want to consider changing to that Zaku, to that Garibaldi Alpha, which I absolutely love with them putting the BD3 and BD2 in RT. Just want to say, never been a better time to use the Garibaldi Alpha. I think it's always a good time to use it, but never a better time because you have a Sturmfast plus the Gelgoog beam rifle plus the fastest downswing in the game. All three of those things are very anti-Blue Destiny 2 to 3. Garibaldi Alpha top tier, Bin top tier, double dodge roll as well. Ooh, custom counter animation as well. Shield, never a better time. Peasant-douages, all these things are going to be very important if you do have access to one to go ahead and bring. If you don't have access to one, my recommendations for you potentially as a GP combating these suits, Gelgoogs are always nice. The normal Gundam with the Hyper Hammer. I'll go ahead and say yes, the Gundam with the Hyper Hammer, Super Napalm Beam Rifle. Okay, you have the Napalm Launcher, you have your normal Beam Rifle, you have two options of stunning. Now you have the Hyper Hammer for a heavy stagger if you need it. Don't get too careless with it. You might hurt your team. I think that's a very good option for you at 400 cost GP to help go up against them. But if you have any of those suits, I think a lot of people either have an Zaku, have a Garibaldi, Peasant, Pale Rider as well. Pale Rider can be very good against them. Heavy stun cannon, has access to 2 other forms of stun. Doesn't do as much damage as these suits, but in my opinion, you're looking at stun potential, stun options. How do you set everything up? How do you set up your melee game? Pale Rider's a good option as well. So, if you were somebody who wants to use maybe other suits, you were kind of using more lower tier suits, it might be worth looking at especially if you want to win, get the rival win, anything like this. I know some dailies you have to get X amount of wins. I think it's but you got to get 2 wins sometimes, 1 win for the dailies. These are some options that you can look at, potentially switch to. Now, as a raid, if you're going up against a BD3, not much I can really tell you, except play the close range game against them. You don't want to get caught in a mid-range game. I think the close range game is your best bet against a BD3 or even a BD2. Crazy to say it, but hear me out. If you're in the close range game, you can get to their side, make it a little bit harder for them to hit you with the missiles. If you get too close to them, they also might use their counter tackle animation. Now they're out of boost. What's that going to force them to do? Either it's going to force them to take your melee, or it's going to go ahead, force them to pop their exam. You can time the iframes, hit them with a neutral as soon as they end from their exam, beginning, and then you can immediately go into a downswing. Big energy, big damage, big counter right there. Close range game, I think, is the best way to deal with these suits. Dealing with them in a close range battle, if they have backup, personally, I would just try to get backup from another teammate. Sometimes that's not viable. Sometimes your team won't help you. Sometimes they'll watch you die. And that's when, as you're dying, you kind of look at them and you tell them, "You fool! Why are you doing this?" And that's that. But I think these are the suits you're just going to have to play around. Again, gun cannon, gun tank, gunner Gundam. Very good options for dealing with BD2s. Excellent options for dealing with BD3s. 400 cost GPs. Axakus. Gundam with the Super Napalm rifle. And the Hyper Hammer. Peasants, you name it, Pale Riders. Good stuff right there. High Gog is also decent if you can play a mid-range game, and if you're accurate with hitting the big missile, you can go ahead and use that. But, and it's going to be very easy for them to stun you. In terms of anything else with the BD2 and BD3 in space, these are excellent suits. They both have AMBAC, space topography. You're able to do a whole lot. Their minimal boost is now extended because of space. Both have beam rifles, and a lot of people use the MG Kai. I wouldn't use the MG Kai. I'd use the beam rifle on both these suits. Use that to set up your melee game in space. As long as you have experience with that, I'll have a video of space combat coming out within the next week or so. Hopefully helping people out with improving their melee game in space. But both these suits are easily top tier. Can dominate any game you're in. Spec them both for melee in my mind. Both need melee. Both have high melee priority. Great suits. You have to play around them. You have to keep that in mind when you're doing your team comp in the pre-match setup. Suplex Leather. Any thoughts on the BD2, BD3 meta that is swarming 400 cost?
BD3s. Well, the overwhelming majority seem to think the machine gun's the way to go, so they haven't been real scary. It's been more of a joke more than anything. Just like, wow, how many BD3s are going to bring the machine gun today? Oh, there's one, there's two. Oh, full team? Hell yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I haven't really got much more to add. I've used it. I have one on my alt account, which I never use anymore. It's overpowered. It plays itself. If you need help with it, just remember, keep your beam rifle charged, shoot away, use the missiles, spam whatever. But personally, I disable the head Vulcans and just, use your chest Vulcans if you need to, since they do have a higher DPS, though lower damage per reload. And of course, it has high melee priority, so you've got even more bullshit in your pocket. Other than that, just go ham. It's got good armor distribution, average health, great mobility, and yeah, it's a pretty good suit. BD2's overpowered, pain in the ass to deal with, but hey, this is the BDs for you. I wish they had the missiles like the BD1 and made them a far more manageable threat, but there you go. People would probably stop using them even less than they are using them now with the machine guns.
Definitely. Yao Yao says, I've played the BD units a combined total of less than 10 times. I generally pop exam the moment I see a support alone while I'm flanking, but I'm sure there's a better strat. If you're playing the BD2 and you see a support, it kind of depends upon the support, and if you think that a GP or multiple enemy GPs are going to peel back and come after you. If you feel like they will come after you, go ahead, but you can pop exam. Not a terrible thing to do. Kill the support, then try to wreak as much havoc as you can upon the enemy GPs. If you feel like you're pretty good, they're not going to be coming after you. Keep that BR charged. Don't use your boost until you're about, I'd say midway there. Then go ahead, hit them with the beam rifle. Get ready for the chest missiles if they're on top of a building. BR. Get directly in front as close as you can up to the building. Start getting your boost ready. That's going to be very important. Boosting up. Have the chest missiles ready. Immediately start firing them. Angle them up to where they start hitting them. But even with the BD2, it can be a little bit of a bitch to deal with the support on top of the building. But that's typically what I do. Only pop exam on them if I feel like the enemy GPs are going to come back and get in my way. Because if they get in my way and I'm not already in exam, it's going to be a rough time for me. Coolio says, play Pale Rider more. Yes, Pale Rider is actually a pretty decent suit. It's a decent suit because of all the stun options it has. I think it does very well in the meta currently as it is. I just think people play too passively with it. I think you need to be a very aggressive player with the Pale Rider. Take advantage of the heavy stun cannon, everything with it. Aggressive, pale rider play, very important. This past week, we got Zaku 2 FS buffs, has maneuver armor, more speed, suplex. What do you think about the Zaku 2 FS, man?
Ooh, well, it's better than it was. I mean, the thing is with the Zaku FS, the damage potential has always been incredibly high. It has one of the highest damage melee combos in the game, and for GPs especially. And it has high melee priority, which isn't all too common. The problem always was it was slow, and my words, it had no dodge roll, so it was very vulnerable. So getting close and actually being aggressive wasn't too much of an option because you just get, stunned and then slaughtered by everyone who saw you because everyone's laughing at you because you're in a very, very fragile suit that has no roll, no maneuver armor, nothing. It's got nothing. So the maneuver armor buff was great. The boost speed buff is great. The extra mobility for running is also great. Though 120, I think, is getting it is kind of still slow. Especially I use a Zaku 2Kai a fair bit, and I do feel how slow 120 is. But it's better than 110, or sorry, 112.5, since it does have ground topography. Excuse me. But yeah, it's better than it was. I still think there's better options, of course, but there's few suits that can do like 6k on a downswing.
Definitely. I've had a couple games in it. So I've done 100k damage with it at 400 cost, but there are better suits you can use. It's an okay GP if you feel pretty solid with your team comp up front, and that you have a support to back you up. You can go ahead and use it. You can use it to potentially tag team as support with your raid if you feel like the raid needs the help. Personally, I wouldn't do that, but it's an option for you. You can use this to break through enemy GPs. If you see them with a charged BR, you can start boosting. Make them you use your maneuver armor so you don't get stunned, and you can keep moving, get into a better position to zook them, and then downswing. I think it's decent now. It's much better than before, but it's still lackluster. It doesn't hold up well, especially with the new BD2, BD3 hardcore meta that we've been seeing for the past week. But other things we did get, you have options to at 350 now, level 2 Ifrit, level 2 Gundam W weapons rack. That's in DP. Out of the two, get the Gundam weapons rack. One of the best supports in the game. One of the, pumps out damage like it's nobody's business. Go buy, if you don't have it already, go buy Gundam weapons rack. Now, we did get word on map changes. So that's pretty big. We're getting they gave us more concrete information on Space Fortress, everything else. Nova, what do you think, man? We're getting Space Fortress, we're getting all these things. What's your take on it?
Honestly, I'm excited. I think the new changes will be fun. The new change to Mountain will hopefully break up the whole fight over the arch bit. And that itself will be a nice little difference. The second arch, going away from B, giving you a second area to move from, should give new tactics, new strategies, new ability to push towards C without really just getting funneled into a single point. The inclusion of that little rock up top of the arch, that's both probably going to end up being a point of cover and just a spot for enemies to actually hit you with splash, because it's significantly harder to shoot up than it is to shoot down. As resource field, we're getting the change to the skewers, and we can talk about that one in just a second. As far as Space Fortress, a lot of it's promised for it. How about coup or bust? I'm liking the hallways. I want to see how the gameplay feels in that, and a little outside zone should be fun. The devs have said that there's not going to be airstrikes due to how the map plays. So that means we're not going to have any of those giant laser cannons in space shot out of the, I guess, Salamis-class vessels. Overall, it looks like it's actually solid information. It's more than we've had since Mountain, Ganios, and GM Guard Custom were announced in the last offline meetup. We actually have solid several pictures rather than just one close-up. When it comes down to it, I think Space Fortress is going to be a fun map to play, if not favoring things like the Comfer that can control tight corridor spaces. And you're going to see some other suits just really kind of camp those corridors until enemies come through. But I think most of the fighting is going to happen around C and D.
Right, C and D are very close together on this new map layout. So there's it's going to be one. It looks to be like one big clusterfuck, but Suplex. What's happening with this new map, man? Tell us about it.
What is happening with this new map? Indeed, it reminds me a lot of Jarborough. The way you have the bases which funnel in different ways to get to the central fighting area. And the fact the map looks a bit like Jarborough with all the grey buildings and structures with a lot of the brown rock, you know. But interesting to say the least. Now, I'm not sure if the translation is just being wonky. And I think this might be covered in a second when we talk about some other exciting improvements coming to GBO2. But it seems like you can perhaps change from flight mode to ground mode in certain areas, though it's not exactly, explained very well, and we didn't really see it from any of the screenshots, so it might not be a direct literal translation. I guess we'll find. Lots of cover. It's going to be with the speed of the mobile suits in space, it's going to be very interesting, because my word, it does look quite tight for a lot of these suits to be pulling off some of their crazy stuff. But I suppose we'll see. If anything, it's new. We've got a lot of openness in space, and whilst resource field's a bit more drawn into the kind of the asteroid field, there's still a lot of open space. But now with the inside this base thing, which some are speculating it's inside the asteroid field block thing of resource field, it seems to be a lot more CQC. That is going to be quite interesting, since the CQC fights in space get really quite fun because you get a lot of brawling, and you don't have all these gunner Gundams like, oh, let me just sneak in a few thousand damage. It's just pure manly men beating the hell out of each other in zero gravity, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah, I think a close quarters space map is something that I've wanted for a really long time. I know a lot of the English player base. They're not big into a lot of the close quarters maps, impact site, mountain, but I think it's a welcome change of pace since resource satellite. Even though we have all the asteroids, can get close quarters, it's still more of a ranged map. As well as dark space is a ranged map for the longest of time. I think something being as tight as this map is, it looks like a uterus. By the way, I just want to say that looks like a fucking, like, if you see the picture, go on the GBO2 website and
Troa. Don't you know space is all about the vagina? Look at Quattro Vagina and Jamatov Hymen.
Pull a picture of uterus, please, Jane.
That's what it looks like.
I've been saying this all fucking week ever since we saw it. This thing looks like a giant uterus. Dude, I'm gonna call everything in this map just like, I'm going down the fallopian tube, boys. I don't know if anybody wants to join me and go to the womb or something.
I mean, that's what it looks like, but it's going to be a very welcome map, in my opinion, because no airstrikes, no support fire. But it's going to favor some of these suits. A suit like the GAN is going to be much more viable in space because everything's going to be tighter. It's going to be easier for you to hit these swings off. It's still going to be tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's going to be better than what it was. Things like the AOS and Camphor, like Suplex and Nova were saying, it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to be able to hit him with Zooks, I guess, a bit easier. Shotgun's going to take more. All that. You're going to be forced into melee situations. So work on your melee game. Very important for this new map. And like what Suplex was saying, if we're actually able to go into kind of a on the ground mode, walking in the space fortress, and then we can kind of ascend in and out of that. That would be really cool. It'd be an awesome feature that they could add to it. I don't have my hopes up that high, because this is Kobe and BB Games we're talking about. With everything that they do on a weekly basis, I don't know if we're going to get that or not, but it's going to be a very welcome change of pace. I think the changes to mountain map going to be really nice. It's still going to be a broken map in terms of team comps and just one side doing better than the other, but it's going to be welcome with just one more pathway to kind of break through the large ridge. There's going to be more cover, if you're trying to get up on top of there for both sides, which is nice. These are welcome changes, except for the resource satellite with the 2 skewers. Now we can see who will abandon their suit or abandon their role as a suit and just be a skewer sniper doing a consistent 3k damage all game long. So I'm looking forward to that with resource. But I want to say something in chat. IZE83L is asking, or saying, he doesn't even have a PS4, but I love Gundam, so I've been looking into it. It's a free game, man. You just need a Japanese PlayStation account. It's very easy to create one. Once you get your PS4, just kind of look it up on YouTube how to create a Japanese account. Very simple. It's fairly easy to navigate to the game on the PlayStation Store. It's a free-to-play game. There is a lottery system in the game to where if you with your Japanese account, if you want to purchase tokens through sites, or get yen cards to purchase tokens, you can do that. I wouldn't recommend doing that. It's not recommended, but it's an option. And with that, you get tokens. You get to spend them, in the game. It gives you a chance at any of the suits that are in the lottery pool. At that given point in time. So you could get anything, from a Gundam Alex all the way down to a level 6 Zaku 2FS. So a lot of variety in there. A lot of people don't enjoy the gacha system, but it's how the game is. There's also a thing called recycle tickets, to where after a certain amount of time, suits that are in the lottery system that were exclusive to it are added to recycle tickets, and you can use the recycle tickets for the dupes, the duplicate items that you get in the lottery, for recycle ticket shop items. And then after recycle tickets, it goes down to your general purpose or your DP. There's the DP shop, which is just kind of your standard currency in the game. And with the standard currency, you can go ahead. You get that from just playing playing games, and everything else, logging in. That's how you get DP. But you can go ahead and buy a plethora of suits that are already in the shop once you hit a certain rank. Full armor Gundam's a very popular one to get. Zigaki's in there, the OG Gundam, the early the Gelgu Commander. All those suits are in there. It's a fun game, man. If you're able to get a PS4, I would highly recommend going into it. What's up, Forbidden? He says it seems like a map suited for raids. It's not just a map suited for raids with the new space fortress, but it's a map suited for close quarters combat in general, and I love it. I love it.
Indeed. And here's a little tidbit that we figured out, probably later than everybody else, I suppose, but little cheeky tip, cool tool tips. Leg buffer does work in space. Although you don't have legs per se, shooting legs will lower the damage that you do to an enemy mobile suit. So bear that in mind on suits like the Rick Dom 2 and the high ability Gelgu. They take 10% less damage if you shoot them in the legs. Don't shoot them in the legs, kids. Go for the torso.
This is true.
Or the back.
Now we're going to speed things up a little bit more. We have 2 more topics we're going to get to here. Very quickly, the Jim Kamove. The Jim Kamove is a brand new suit, 1 star you can get in the gacha system. It goes from 200 cost to 300 cost. It's a very fragile suit with a big shield, but it has access to the anti-ship rifle, the same as the Zudas. So you get the heavy stun with it. It has a balancer. It doesn't have a dodge roll. It has what is it? It's called IFF.
Yeah, false flag.
Beacon.
Yeah, false beacon.
False flag.
Which surprisingly works better in space than on the ground. Surprisingly enough, you can actually bamboozle a lot of people. I've been shot in the back by Zudas with ASR, not Zudas, Jim Kamove from the back, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, who the? I think as a teammate, I'm like, why are you not shooting this guy I'm shooting? And then all of a sudden I get heavy staggered from the back. I'm like, I turn around, this fucking baby Jim with like a huge shield. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's much better in space. On the ground, of course, it's much more linear, so it's easier to deal with. It's not that big of a threat on the ground. I think it's a very good suit at these costs. You're gonna want to use the anti-ship rifle, of course, and going with the melee as you can. In terms of how you spec it, personally, I'd spec it for just pure damage, pure big dick damage. That's what matters. Leather, Suplex, Nova, any thoughts on the Jim Kamuf?
It's a little backstabbing little git, isn't it? Like since False Beacon is such a rare skill, I often forget about it, and especially because I do play a bit of 200 to 300, I always forget the Jim Kamuf is there, and I always forget that it carries an ASR, and I always forget that it can basically one-shot your goddamn legs if you're in a GP or raid. It's a scary suit. It's very unassuming, and it is quite fragile. It's got lower armor than the other suits at its cost. I think it has like 2 less points to each, but it's fast. It's 125 speed, making it, I think, the fastest GP at 200 and 250. So it's quite the cheeky little suit, and it just nails it. The machine gun's quite interesting as well. It fires very fast and has a high range, but lower damage. The bazooka is just a bazooka, I'm guessing, just with higher damage and less rounds per reload. I want one, but it's a terror. I think it's a little terror. I think if you want a good team comp, have an ASR wielding Kamuf, especially at 200. I mean, you can't go wrong with an ASR at 200. Like most suits have got 8,000 HP. One shot's probably going to knock half the HP off. You can't go wrong with that.
Access to the Sturmfest as well, so you have a lot of options with it. Forbidden asks, what role is the Kamuf? It's a general purpose suit, so it's a GP. Personally, I wouldn't go sniping with it. I would play it more midline. GP.
You can't really snipe with it. The ASR doesn't have that much range either.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's pretty hard to do.
I know. It's just. I wouldn't play rear line.
I know what you're saying, but you should go in and melee in there, because heavy stagger is pretty useful on a suit with a balancer, and a good melee. Does it use a beam saber or is it a heat hawk?
It's a heat hawk.
Oh, it's a heat hawk. Never mind. Not mind then. You're gonna be doing baby damage if it uses the regular one.
I'd still go ahead, play it midline, get into opportunities where you can melee with it, set up the team potentially, use the Sturm. I think it's a pretty good suit. Now for the final thing we have here today, it's from the Dengeki Q&A with a couple devs and everything else, where they ask questions as they play the game, and then they show that they're not very good at the game, so that's fun to watch.
They suck.
Pretty sure they lost every match that they had last night.
Oh my God, dude.
So that's pretty cool, or the majority of them at least had a very very low win percentage. Let's say that. But shout out to Yao Yao for getting me these, and for translating it and being a trooper, and watching it, staying up. And it was late at night for him. So thank you for this. But so for the Q&A, I'll go ahead and read it off. Question 1 was, some mobile suits in this game are different types than in the first game. Is there anything to take note of when playing them in this title? Their answer was yes. Many of the returning suits are intentionally different from the last game. The game did transfer from PS3 to 4 after all, so things should be different. There you go for the Jaeger being a support, and any other changes that have happened. Question 2: are you guys making dark pan matches where players can just pick their favorite mobile suit with zero regard for team comp and map selection? Their answer to that is nothing concrete at the moment, but we're considering making it that a playable game mode. Suplex and I were talking about this pre-podcast, and we think that might mean that you can take, like, let's say, a goof into space.
It's just like a mega casual party mode, I guess. I'm not familiar with what dark pan is. I'm sure that's like a genre maybe in Japan. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm guessing it's just something to kind of have fun with. Draw seas on land, you know? Who knows?
Oh my god, dude.
We'll guess we'll see. If we get the Zhong, I guess we'll have a hovering Zhong on land too. Maybe that's not the case. It probably isn't, but I guess we can dream. If anyone's got any information on what a dark pan match is, please direct us and correct us. We haven't got a clue.
It's speculation. Maybe a super casual game mode to where like it doesn't matter. But I
mean, that's already customs. Nothing matters in customs. Just bring a Geigen into 400. Who cares?
I wouldn't say nothing matters in custom because we do try to have competitive matches, but it's
It's far less serious than
there are rooms to where it'll say any mobile suit, or they'll have theme matches or anything like that, and there'll be comments with that. You can usually pick apart the more serious custom rooms compared to the more casual ones, depending upon the room comment or whatever the hell they put for it. So there's that. So I that's the only thing I could think of. Dark Pan matches. Take a goof into space, Xiong on the ground. I don't know. Assault Guntank in space. The works. Question 3 was, what are you guys planning to do with the upcoming first anniversary? All they said to this, we're hard at work with big content coming up, both in game and in real life. Quote unquote, quote, stay hyped, end quote. What the hell does that tell us? It doesn't really tell us anything. It just tells us, I guess we should have some sort of excitement for whatever the hell they're going to do for anniversary. It should be something big. If it's not, I say we take to the streets of Japan and we riot.
Yes.
Get hyped,
I
guys.
agree.
Just get hyped. Who knows what we should be hyped for? Maybe we should get hyped for, like, I don't know, maybe we'll get a special decal. Everyone gets a free decal and one DP and one token. If you complain about it, we're removing that token.
Oh my god, dude. I'm kind of hoping it's either the jump to 0083, finally the full on Zeta and all that stuff, or it's our boy the Zhong, the Xiong baby.
I want the perfect.
And the Saikamuzakus.
I'm 100% fully expecting GPO1 and GPO2.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning there too. Yeah.
It's highly likely.
We're reading chat right here before we I go into the next questions. Coolio says, for the super casual game mode, what the fuck? That mode is already in the game. It's called rating match.
People bringing the most silly bills. Let me bring my guff into 400, guys. I got it.
Look, man. They always kick me every time I pick my Geigen for 400. It makes me very sad. Or my Garibaldi for unlimited.
Very big.
Also
sad.
Makes me sad.
Big
yeah,
sad.
big sad.
Question 4 that they had, are we getting weather and time changes back for the maps? Their answer to that is we have no set date for that, and it's still under discussion. But it's one that we definitely want to do, with the primary focus first being on different times of day, such as afternoon and night, before moving to weather effects. Why this isn't in the game already, I have no fucking clue. It kind of aggravates me because they make it seem like it's going to be this big thing for them. They did it in the first one. Yeah. You can do it in this one. We know you can. You implemented space. It's not like there's going to be fucking snow in space. Come on. Give us the option to change the weather on maps, change the time of day. That would be really cool. It would add a new dynamic to the game. It would make things more interesting. It'd be a lot of fun. I want to play in the rain as a mobile suit. Maybe I want to play in the snow. Maybe I want to play at night. Get the fuck on the ball. Let's go.
Do we want to make a giant snowman with that, guys? Come on now.
Yeah, come on.
Get on the case. Get on the. Come on.
Don't I want to chop it in half with a goof heat sword? Come on. Let's do it. Question 5: do devs play the game at home outside of work hours? If so, can we play with them? We're not at the liberty to reveal the devs' personal accounts, is what they said. But we know that all devs, including Kobe, play outside of work on their own time. So that's really nice.
Lies all over that. That's rubbish.
Lies. I don't believe these lies. Honestly, I've seen these devs play, and I'm not impressed. I can't wait for Kobe to fire all these losers. just go in his office. You guys made us look like fools.
Force says, why not a mode that ignores types? That could maybe be a casual thing. But Yao Yao says, Dark ban is a term that usually refers to gacha games, especially ones that guarantee high percentages for certain banners. Gives out jack shit and are intermixed with shitty banner items. Applied to this game, it becomes nobody knows what everyone's doing. Okay.
Oh God!
So it'd be a shadow.
basically
You wouldn't know.
You
You
can't
wouldn't know.
see. Oh my God!
You,
Okay,
you,
that
you
would, that
wouldn't
would
know
be
what I was
hilarious.
bringing.
That would be hilarious. Yes,
Oh
please
my
add
God.
that.
So I'd be in a
please.
team. Everybody's a question mark except for me. I know what I'm bringing. And then when we go into the match, it's just like all supports, or maybe like 5 raids and 1 support. It's just what the fuck. That'd be hilarious. I want it. I'm all for it too. Yes. Please give it to me, Kobe.
That would be quite funny to see happen. It would be.
Oh my God.
That'd be glorious.
Oh my God. That'd be great. Yeah.
Five-man
Thank
pixie
you.
team.
Thank you for that translation. That about wraps everything up. Boys, do we have any big predictions for the banner? New banner this week.
Big hopes
No.
for gun cannons. Oh,
I'm gonna
okay,
say it right now.
Love G.
I'm gonna say it right now.
I swear to God.
Okay, I'm sorry. High energy, baby. We need another Claw Gang member. Okay.
Okay.
We have a flamethrower now. I'm gonna say it.
Say it.
Azok.
He's gonna say it, the most obscure.
Azok.
It's not even an MSM. It's not even an MSM.
Bruh, no, but like it does have like a claw thing in one of the pictures for MSVR.
Yeah, it has these weird little like long arms. They look weird. Yeah, I'm all for the Azok, but I doubt it. But here's my counter.
No, but what?
Here's my counter.
Tell me.
In GBO1, right? Okay, we got the Gym Guard custom with the Gelgug Marine. We got the Gym Guard custom, then we got the Gelgug Marine. We got the Assault Guntank, but in GBO1 that came with the GOG. So, are we getting the GOG? Big numbers for the GOG, baby. If we're gonna get the GOG, this is what I want. Because I'm sorry, the Zagoks are cool. The Agu guy is also very cool, if not slightly rapey. But the GOG, Grandpa Claw, can we get him? Can I get an amen for GOG?
Please, Kobe, we'll forgive you for sucking at this game.
We will.
I mean, either way, I see this as an absolute win, Azok or GOG.
For sure. Give us the AG. If we're gonna get the Azok, we gotta get the AG as well. Twin drill.
Exactly. Give us the Zok too. Zok as well.
Just give him all of them. Just give it 7 suit banner. Fuck it.
Spud says fire all of them and replace them with Claw Gang, talking about the devs. Yes. Forbidden says, I know it doesn't need it, but I hope they rework the BD3 and give it double barrel beam rifle for the shield. Buddy, you're out of your mind. It doesn't need any more things for the BD3. That shit doesn't need anything.
It needs a buff.
But that's like an obscure upgrade that it gets, I think, from like something really obscure, like the double barrel beam rifle in the shield, whatever.
Is it in the manga or something?
I don't know.
Force says,
it would be interesting, but I don't know.
Force says G-Line for why do you do this?
GOG,
yes. Lothar, what's good,
this
Lothar?
Is why
what's
no
up,
one
man?
likes you for.
Amen for the GOG. Amen. Azok, Zok, GOG, triple banner. That's what Lothar wants. I would be down for it personally. I think a Federation suit is more likely to happen this week again. We've had a plethora of Xeon suits come to happen. Yeah, I think another Federation Gym Interceptor, Gym Custom, Gun Cannon Heavy Arms.
Please don't make them boring though.
Yeah,
Gym Guard was like my light, and then they just faded like immediately once they had no shield bash.
Can't even shield bash. Yeah.
Basically,
tragic.
What the
Truly
hell?
tragic.
Sadly. But that is all the time that we have here today for the MLG GBO2 podcast. We'll be back next Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you all enjoyed the show here. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, chatting with us, listening to us talk about the game. If you liked it, if you like Captain Leather on the show, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments what you think. Get at me on Discord, PSN, whatever. Throw in topics that you want to see talked about on the podcast or maybe in a gameplay breakdown. Give me ideas. But that's all the time we have. We'll see you guys next time. And as always,